Kinders. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend and a very happy Easter if you celebrate Easter. In today's math lesson, we're going to a new topic, measurement. And after today's lesson, you will be able to tell me what measurement is, as well as the first important rule that we always must remember when we're measuring. Because today and every day you use measurement, and that's why it's super important. So, what is measurement? What do you think? Good. Measurement is just the act of measuring, and there's so many things you can measure. Go ahead and think about it and tell me 3 things that you can measure. What else? Good. Awesome. Right. There are so many things you can measure. Measurement involves how long or short something is. So measuring, there's one thing you can measure is length. It's also, so long or short, also how wide or narrow something is. That's when we measure its width. Or how tall or short something is. That's when we measure height. Or even you, right? We measure how tall or short you are. How measurement also involves how fast something is, right? Like a car or a cheetah, a turtle, even a rocket. Measurement also involves how hot or cold it is outside, or your pool water is. That's when we measure that, we're measuring something's temperature. We can measure how heavy or light your backpack is, or your baby brother or baby sister, right? Or you are. That is when we measure weight. And even measurement involves how much sugar or water or flour or vanilla to put in a cake that you're making with mom or dad, right? That's its volume. So measurement involves all these things and even more. We use measurement every day. It is so important because without measurement, you wouldn't even know how to dress in the morning, right? Because mom tells you, looks at the temperature and says, oh, you might need a jacket, or oh, better wear a tank top today, right? You also need measurement if you're building a tree house in your backyard, right? And you wanted your whole family to fit inside. You need to know its length, its width, its depth, or height, right? To measure how big you needed it, and then you'd need to know all that so you could go buy as much wood as you need or lumber, right? Measurement is so important. Even you want to know the distance of how far Disneyland is from your house. You need to know that so you can decide, should you walk there? Should you take your bike or your scooter? Do you need to drive or maybe even take a plane, right? We use measurement every day. That's why it's so super important. So we're going to talk about that for the next 2 weeks, and you're going to become measurement experts, I promise. So when we start a unit on measurement with my classes, I like to read this book because it kind of tells us why measurement is so important, right? But I know you've been sitting for a little while, and let's practice some of the terms that we just learned, right? So stand up. We're going to do a quick little get our wiggles out so you're ready to listen to my story, and we're going to talk about some of the measurement things I've already said. All right, so I want you to stretch so high. Make your height as tall as you can. Of course, you're standing. I'm just sitting. Now make yourself super short. Come down way low, make yourself super short so your height isn't so big anymore. All right, now how about stretch your arms way wide. And again. And again. Now make them super narrow. Even more narrow. Even more narrow. And clap, 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 clap. Super, super narrow. All right, get ready. Runnies, are you ready? Run in place as fast as a cheetah. Run, 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 run. Now slow and slower, a sloth. Now super fast like a car. Right. And come down and crouch. Get on your lily pad, except you're on your rocket launching pad. Those go super fast. And count 5 on 1. Blast off. You're going to go rocket up into space. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off. Awesome. I hope you got your wiggles out. Come back. Sit. Crisscross applesauce. Circle, circle, dot, dot. I am sitting in my spot. All right, good. How big is a foot? Written and illustrated by Rolf Meitler. I love this story. Sorry. Once upon a time, there lived a king and his wife, the queen. They were a happy couple, for they had everything in the world. However, when the queen's birthday came near, the king had a problem. What could he give to someone who had everything? The king thought and he thought and he thought until suddenly he had an idea. He would give the queen a bed. The queen did not have a bed because at that time beds had not been invented. So even someone who had everything did not have a bed. Oh, I would want a bed too if there weren't any. The king called his prime minister and asked him to please have a bed made. The prime minister called the chief carpenter and asked him to please have a bed made. Sorry, I'm going to come this way. The chief carpenter asked the apprentice and told him to make a bed. How big is a bed? Asked the apprentice, who didn't know because at that time nobody had ever seen a bed. How big is a bed? The carpenter asked the prime minister. A good question, said the prime minister, and he asked the king, how big is a bed? The king thought and he thought and he thought until suddenly he had an idea. The bed must be big enough to fit the queen. The king called the queen. He told her to put on her new pajamas and told her to lie on the floor. The king took off his shoes and with his big foot walked carefully around the queen. He counted that the bed must be 1, 2, 3 feet wide. There's that width again. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet long to be big enough to fit the queen, including the crown which the queen sometimes liked to wear to sleep. So do you see that? 3 feet wide and 6 feet long. He measured with his big king feet. The king said, "Thank you," to the queen, and told the prime minister, who told the chief carpenter, who told the apprentice, the bed must be 3 feet wide and 6 feet long to be big enough to fit the queen, including the crown which she sometimes liked to wear to bed. I bet if I had a crown, I'd like to wear it to bed too. The apprentice said, "Thank you," and took off his shoes. I should have told you an apprentice is like a helper. He's learning his trade, right? And he took off his shoes, and with his little feet, he measured 3 feet wide and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet long, and made a bed to fit the queen. Uh-oh. Why do you think Mrs. Gibbs is saying, uh-oh? Think, 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 think. When the king saw the bed, he thought it was beautiful. He could not wait for the queen's birthday. Do you see more of the problem? I wonder why that happened. Instead, he called the queen at once and told her to put on her new pajamas. Then he brought out the bed and told the queen to try it. But, prediction, what do you think? Yeah. The bed was much too small for the queen, and I bet you know why. The king was so angry that he immediately called the prime minister, who called the chief carpenter, who called the jailer, who threw the apprentice, that helper, into jail. The apprentice was so unhappy. Why was the bed too small for the queen? Do you know? Tell me. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, that's some good thinking. Let's read on and see if you're right. He thought and he thought and he thought, until suddenly he had an idea. A bed that was 3 king's feet wide and 6 king's feet long was naturally bigger than a bed that was 3 apprentice feet wide and 6 apprentice feet long. I can make a bed to fit the queen if I know the size of the king's foot, he cried. That's so important. I'm going to read it again. I can make a bed to fit the queen if I know the size of the king's foot. They weren't the same size. So you can't make a bed measuring by a king's big foot and then have the apprentice's little foot use the same 6 by 3 measurement. He explained this to the jailer, who explained it to the chief carpenter, who explained it to the prime minister, who explained it to the king, who was much too busy to go to the jail. Instead, the king took off one shoe and called a famous sculptor. The sculptor made an exact marble copy of the king's foot. This was sent to the jail. See? So the marble, so it's kind of like a statue, right? So then he could use that. The apprentice took the marble copy of the king's foot, and with it he measured 1, 2, 3 feet wide, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet long. That was at 7, right? And built a bed to fit the queen. Now, what's your prediction? Do you think it's going to fit the queen this time? The bed was ready just in time for the queen's birthday. The king called the queen and told her to put on her new pajamas. Well, this one doesn't even have any pictures. Then he brought out the new bed and told the queen to try it. The queen got into bed and thumbs up, thumbs down. Do you think it fits? The bed fit the queen perfectly, including the crown which she sometimes liked to wear to sleep. It was, without a doubt, the nicest gift the queen had ever received. The king was very happy. He immediately called the apprentice from jail and made him a royal prince. He ordered a big parade, and all the people came out to cheer the little apprentice prince. And forever after, anyone who wanted to measure anything used a copy of the king's foot. And when someone said, "My bed is 6 feet long and 3 feet wide," everyone knew exactly how big it was. T-H-E-E-N-D, la, and if you see this is a big yardstick, right? This is a big yardstick, and that's the king's big foot. And we use yardsticks and rulers and things like that to measure, right? So let's just say they used the king's foot long ago. Look at my foot. This is the size of a ruler. So this is 12 inches, which we call 1 foot, right? So let's see. Is my foot 1 foot long? No, because I would have to go all the way up here, right? Mine's not 1 foot long, but I have a pretty big foot for a lady, for a short lady at that. But anyways, when you get older next year in first grade, you're going to use rulers, right? And you're going to use feet and inches and centimeters to measure things, right? Because just like the king learned, you have to use the same size. That's why he made that marble sculpture of his foot, right? So every single one he lined up so it could be just perfect. You have to use units of the same size or you'll get the measurements all wrong, just like what happened to the apprentice with his little foot and the king's big foot, right? So, like I said, next year you're going to learn and you're going to use rulers. I left all my rulers at school, so I use a measuring tape at home, right, to measure things. But you're going to use inches, but in kindergarten, it's fun because we get to use whatever we want. This, using inches and centimeters and rulers and yardsticks, is called standard measurement. But in kindergarten, we get to use something big. Say non-standard. One more time. Non-standard. Good. And that means, yay, we get to explore and have fun with all kinds of things. But remember, what's the number one rule when we're measuring that the king taught us? Whatever you're using, you need to use units of the same size, right? Like I need to use pennies, or I need to use all the same size paper clips. I can't use my big foot and your little foot, right? Because those wouldn't be the same size. So I went ahead and I gathered some objects around my house, and you tell me, yes with 2 thumbs up or no with 2 thumbs down if it's something that I could use to measure. Remember the number one rule. Whatever you use, your units or your objects, like your units are your pennies or your paper clips, they have to be the same size, okay? That's the number one rule. We're spending our whole lesson on this number one rule today because it's so important. So you tell me yes or no. Unifix cubes. Can I use Unifix cubes to measure? Yes, right? They're all the same size. Look at them. They're all the same size. So yes, I can. Ooh. How about my blocks? Can I use my blocks to measure? Are they the same size? Yes, they are. 2 thumbs up. How about my chalk that we used to make our last obstacle course? What do you think? Yes or no? Let's give you a closer look. No, 2 thumbs down. My chalk is not the same size, so that would be breaking the law, right? We're breaking the number one rule. You have to use units of the same size. What about Hershey's Kisses that I got from the Easter Bunny? Can I use them? Can I line them up? Here, I'll put them on my palm. Could I line them up nicely? Are they the same size? Yes, they are. They might be different colors, but they're the same size. So yes, I could use Hershey Kisses. You can even use food. Ooh, what about Cheerios? Thumbs up, as long as I didn't use the broken ones, right? I couldn't use any of the broken ones. I have to put those aside. What about Trix? Can I use my Trix cereal? No. Thumbs down, because where they might be about the same size, they're not really the same size, right? They're different shapes, and that might affect it. So no. All right. I think you guys have done a really good job. And I know you can tell me what measuring is. Go ahead and tell me again. Just shout out the answer, okay? Measurement is, we can measure how long or good, short something is, its length, or we can measure how wide or narrow something is, or its width, good, how tall or short, which is its height, good, how cold or hot it is, that's its temperature, good, and how fast or slow something is, that's its speed, good, and how heavy or light my backpack is, what's that? It's weight, good. Did we get everything? Height, weight, all that stuff, that's all measurement, right? And also, you're going to prove that you know. Here's your challenge. What's our number one rule? 1, 2, 3, tell me. Right. You have to use units of the same size. Right, so for our last little challenge, you're going to prove that you learned that number one most important rule. I'm going to show you 2 things, and you're going to point to which one I should use to go around my house and measure things, okay? Don't measure yet, because you don't know the other 2 rules, right? But just tell me which ones. Point to the one I should use. Should I use these bundle of markers? Look at them. Right? Or this bundle of colored pencils. Right? Look at, I'm trying to show you really carefully. Here. All right, I'll come back here. Look at, I'll hold them up next to each other. Point, which one should I use? Good, I hope you said the markers. Why? Because they're all the same size, right? Are my used colored pencils the same size? No, look at this brown one, right? Let me scoot back compared to this gray one. Would that be a fair measurement if I used colored pencils of all different sizes? No! Tell me, what's it doing? Breaking the law, breaking the law. That's right, it's breaking the law. We can't break the law. Okay, next one. If I want to measure some small things, should I use my Scooby Snacks or my goldfish? And these are the shapes. So these are the shapes of my Scooby Snacks. And these are the shapes of my Mickey Mouse goldfish. Which one? Point to the one that would be better use and who was not breaking the law. Breaking the law. Which one should I use? Good. Scooby Snacks, because they're all the same size. If some are goldfish and some are Mickey ears, I'm breaking the law because they're not the same size. It might be close, but they're not the same size, same shape. You're so good at this. Okay, we have 2 more. Which should I use? I went and I looked for all my coins. I collected them around the house. Should I use a bag of coins that has quarters and dimes and nickels and pennies? Or should I use this bag of coins that are all pennies? Okay, these are all pennies. I should show you up close what these size. So one bag has all pennies like this, right? All the same size. But one, this is a dime, and this is, oops, another dime. This is a quarter, and this is a nickel. Oh, I can't find my nickel. Sorry, guys. Okay, well, anyways, you can see from this. Okay, should I use this bag that has quarters and dimes and nickels and pennies? Or this one? I kind of gave it away. Yeah, the pennies, I told you, are all the same size. If I use this, I'm breaking the law, breaking the law. What's the law? Use units of the same size. Okay, the last one. I have an A jar of paper clips. I'll turn it around. You can see some circle ones, some straight ones, some fancy ones with stripes. Or my B jar has all of these. What do you think? Scream out to me. A apple A, or, oops, that's upside down. A apple A, or B bat B. Good. B bat B, because they're all the same size. Well, boys and girls, you did an amazing job on your first measurement lesson. Tomorrow we'll probably do a little review, but the next day you'll learn the next 2 rules that are so important for measuring. I'm so proud of you. You know what measurement is. You know our most important rule. Let's read it one more time. Use units of the same size, right? So proud of you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.